Good evening. I hope you all had a good Purim Sameach. May Hashem listen to all our tefillot letova. Tonight we are learning perek 1 part 2. Just to recap what we did for our last lesson, that was perek 1 part 1. So in perek 1 part 1, we learned about fulfilling our obligations in this world, and that each and every one of us is unique, is a star, and very important. And how do we know our goal and purpose in life? So that was last part 1. Now in part 2, the Mesilat yesharim, the Ramchal says, "Ulema tzarich שישים מבטו ומגמתו בכל אשר הוא עמל כל ימי חייו." What the goal should be of one, like I want to have a goal. Where should I direct this goal to? Like, what's going to be my outlook and ambition in everything that I strive for in this lifetime? I have ambitions, I have a certain outlook, and how am I going to get to the right one? So by nature, a human being is constantly striving, right? And when a person makes for himself clear goals, right? I know where I'm going, I know what I'm doing. For example, I'm working on a project, and I have everything already written down. This is the first step, second step, third step. So my goal is pretty clear about what I'm going to do, right? So one will try harder to achieve that goal and to go step by step. That means that a person will put all his efforts in proportion to his personal ambition, depending on really how well do I really want this project to actually be successful. For example, when someone wants to start a business, he really works himself to the bone. He really does. He works so hard. He's there before the employees. He's there after the employees. Every minute of the day, of the night, he's on the phone. He's trying to make contact. He's working so hard. And it doesn't just take a few months. It takes a few years to actually build up a business, for this, establish this business, for this business to be successful. That is the ambition of this businessman. And that's how much effort he's putting day in, day out, until finally he is established, right? So also, if one is focused on a goal, he will not be distracted by any interruptions. But if he's not focused, he will do things here and there and go from this task to that task without really any direction. So the ambition will actually have the person to focus to his goal. Therefore, it's very important for a person to have a very clear goal, because that is what's going to assure their success. So a person will push himself to the limit to achieve it. This will give direction to everything that he works at every day of his life. So we took the example of the businessman or of a project, but this could be really the project of our life. How to get to the goal that we're supposed to be getting at and focus on this goal. So Chachamim taught us שהאדם לא נברא אלא להתענג על השם. Mankind was created only to take pleasure in what? In Hashem. Lehenot miziv shechinato, to benefit from his Shekhinah, from his presence. That's why we have been created, to benefit from the presence of Hashem. Shezehu hata'anug ha'amiti, for this is really the true pleasure. והעידון הגדול מכל העידונים שיכולים להימצא. And the pleasure is the greatest of all pleasures that can possibly exist in the world. ומקום העידון הזה הוא העולם הבא. And the true place for this true pleasure is in olam haba, in Gan Eden. כי הוא נברא בהכנה המשתרכת לדבר הזה. Because Gan Eden, olam haba, was created with the design necessary for this purpose, to give pleasure to our neshamot, not to our body, but to our neshamot. So a man's purpose is fulfilled not in this world, but in the olam haba. However, in olam haba, Gan Eden, olam haba, life in this world is necessary to achieve man's goal. So our goal is olam haba, Gan Eden. But we cannot get to it without actually going through life. So we need this life to travel this journey with all our ambitions to get to the goal. And the goal itself is olam haba. This means like this: the pleasures of this world are not to compare with the pleasure of the Shekhinah that is waiting a person in olam haba. The Gemara says that tzaddikim sit with crowns on their heads and have great pleasure from the Shekhinah in olam haba, which is a spiritual place, and only in such a place can one enjoy the Shekhinah. So really what we said here is that we need this world, this journey, to get to olam haba. Olam haba is the greatest of pleasures. It's a spiritual world. It's not physical. And to get to it, we have to go through this journey in this world. I want to tell you a story which I heard yesterday from another speaker. And it just gives us a little bit of understanding of what is happening in olam haba. The story goes like this. There's a man who was not religious in Israel, and this man had a son who did teshuvah. He started to keep Shabbat, to learn, and to live a life of a religious Jew. The father couldn't say any, okay, this is what you chose, that's fine. His son was already, it wasn't a young man, he was already in his 40s. And one day, just passed, and then one day, he was never interested in anything religious. Then one day, he called his son, and he told him, I want you to come. We are going to spend Shabbat, and I'm going to keep Shabbat from A to Z. The son says, whoa, this is really a lot. Wait, Abba, if you want to keep Shabbat, do it slowly, gradually. You can't do it all at once. There's so much. Shabbat is difficult. There's so many laws to keep, so many things to know, he says, it's okay, I'm ready. I want to keep Shabbat from A to Z. So please come, and over Shabbat, before Shabbat, and over Shabbat, you're going to tell me what I'm allowed to do, what I'm not allowed to do, and we'll spend a proper Shabbat. Okay? That's what the father wanted. So the son goes, before Shabbat, he's teaching his father a few things about Shabbat. Finally, Shabbat comes in, they go to shul, they come home, they make kiddush, hamotzi, divrei Torah, and throughout Shabbat, the whole Shabbat, it was a perfect Shabbat. The son could not believe this. Good, okay. Again, and then the father says, next week we're going to do the same thing again. What? The son is so shocked. It's so out of character of his father. Okay, that's what you want. And then again, the next Shabbat, again, the son comes, and again the father keeps Shabbat exactly as he's told. He does exactly what the son says. And then the third week again, so 3 Shabbat in a row, 3 Shabbatot, this man actually kept Shabbat. And this happened sometimes right before Rosh Hashanah. Then the father didn't wake up. They had to bury him. When they wanted to bury him, they asked Rabbi Chaim, Zechron Livracha, they asked him what to do. Should they really bury this person in the part of people who are Shomer Shabbat, or should he be buried with people who never kept Shabbat? Because after all, he only kept 3 Shabbatot. And Rabbi Chaim says, absolutely in the part with people who kept Shabbat. Even though he only kept the 3 Shabbatot of his life, but this is what it is. It has got to be in the section with people who kept Shabbat. Okay, so he's buried. The son goes to shul, says Kaddish, and he learns Mishnayot, and he learns every day. The night of the 29th day after this man's passed away, right before the Shloshim, the 30th day, he comes to a dream to his son. And he says to his son, I know this is what you learned today in your Daf Yomi, and I know you had difficulties. Open up, I'm going to show you what your difficulty was and what is it you could not understand. And right there in the dream, the father opens up the Gemara, and he opens up to the page where the son had been learning that day, and he actually explains to his son, the part of the Gemara that his son had difficulties with. And it was very, very clear in the dream to the son, exactly. But the son is bothered. In the dream, he's saying to his father, Abba, you never learned Gemara. How can you explain this to me? You never learned. And this is a shocker. And the father says like this, well, my son, it is true I never learned. But because you learn, and you're learning Le'iloi Nishmat, on my name, so when the tzaddikim are sitting and learning Torah, the neshamot are learning Torah, they allow me to come and sit with them and learn with them, and I understand everything because you are learning. And so, when today you did not understand what you were learning, I learned it with the tzaddikim. So now, I am teaching you so that you can go back and review your Gemara, and you will see, you will understand. Now the son wakes up and he was in a shock. What is this? What kind of a dream is this? And to be sure, quickly he went, opened up the Gemara to the page where he had been learning the day before, and he read it again, and he remembered exactly the explanation that his father gave him in the dream. And he actually repeated that to himself, and everything was clear. He understood. He understood what he had been learning, or what his father had explained to him in the dream. And he understood how important it was to learn, how much pleasure it gave his father, because in the dream his father seemed to be so happy. He had a certain radiance on his face and so happy. And now he understood what that meant. And for us to understand a little bit more about this pleasure that the neshama gets, that first of all, the neshama comes from Hashem, from a place that is very kadosh. So obviously the neshama is very attracted to anything that is kadosh. That's number one. Number two, let's say, for example, let's say that you are sitting by the beach. It's a beautiful day. It's not windy. The sun is not too hot. And it's just perfect. You're sitting by the beach. You're enjoying the heat of the sun. It's just perfect. And you're so relaxed. And you say to yourself, wow, what a pleasure. It's quiet. It's so relaxing. You could go on like this for hours. Well, that pleasure that you have for, let's say, 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour, 2 hours, that's nothing, absolutely nothing to compare to the pleasure that the neshama gets in Gan Eden. So that is what we're trying to understand a little bit what Gan Eden is all about. Okay. Chachamim call olam hazeh domeh leprosdor. Prosdor, it means a passageway. This world is like a passageway before getting into the palace. Okay, which is our last destination, which is olam haba, Gan Eden. So the Rambam and Rabbeinu Yonah said, prepare yourself in this passageway so that you can enter into the palace. So what are the means to get into the palace? These are the mitzvot that Hashem has commanded us to fulfill, and only in this world we can perform them. So whatever Hashem gives us, when we are born, our intelligence, our capabilities, our talents, whether we're poor or rich or whatever it is, whatever life is taking us, all these are the means that Hashem has given us and is still giving us every day for us to fulfill our goal, for us to reach our goal. And Chachamim say, Hayom la'asotam u'mahar lekabel secharam. Today we perform the mitzvot, and tomorrow we'll get the reward. We don't actually mean tomorrow, obviously. This is just a way of speech. It means that when a person gets to olam haba, that's when the person gets the reward for performing the mitzvot. And what are the means for performing the mitzvot? So for example, we are blessed with a home. So in a home, we need to mezuzah, we buy sefarim, we buy sidurim, we buy food that we cook for Shabbat. Whatever we do These are all mitzvot, preparations for Shabbat, whether it's cleaning or laundry or shopping. It's all preparation for Shabbat. So it's all included in the mitzvot. There was a woman who was like 96 years old, and she was in hospital. She wasn't feeling well, and the rabbi who works at the hospital was going around and talking to the patients. And he came to her, how you doing? And she says, please, she was begging the rabbi, please, Rabbi, pray, bless me, and I should have a refuah shlema. I want to go home. I want to live longer. And he's looking at her, so surprised. And she understood his look. And she said, yes, Rabbi, I just want to have more opportunities to say more tehillim, to say more tefillah. Maybe a little chesed, maybe I can say something nice to someone. Just a few more opportunities, because as long as I live, I still have an opportunity to do another mitzvah. And the Gemara explains that when Moshe went up to Shamayim to get the Torah, the angels were angry, and actually they wanted to attack Moshe and wanted to harm him. Hashem said to Moshe, speak to them, explain to them why you came. The angel said, no, the Torah should stay in Shamayim. The Torah is too holy to be given to human beings. And Moshe says, okay. It says in the Torah, kabed et avicha vet imecha, respect your father and mother. To have a father and mother, you have to be born. Now, have you been born? Or you were created by Hashem? They understood what he said. And then he gave them another example about eating kosher, or about seniut. He gave them a few examples. And then they realized that he was right, that the Torah is not for the angels. The Torah is really for human beings. And that's when they said, Hashem emet v'Torato emet. That's it. That was part 2 of our session, and Be'ezrat Hashem in the zechut of this learning. Be'ezrat Hashem, again, whoever needs panasa, whoever needs health, shidduchim, shalom bayit, whatever a person may need, may Hashem help us to overcome our difficulties and answer our tefillot letova. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we will see you next time.